What an episode I have planned for you guys today. Welcome to Setup Wars episode 323. Sit back and relax and let's get started. So you just built a brand new shiny PC and you're greeted with this nasty notification on the bottom right corner of your screen. Well, instead of going out there and paying full price for a Windows key, you guys can actually get one for less than $15. That's right, you guys can get a Windows 10 Pro CD key for less than $15 by visiting yourcdkey.com or by clicking my link below and using my code TS20 for that extra 20% off. They also sell Windows 11 and Microsoft Office keys and the same discount code applies. Now once you get your CD key, all you have to do is go into the activation settings on Windows and put in the new key and watch the watermark disappear. We're starting off the episode strong with Adrian's fully custom gaming setup. There are two things that we already know about Adrian. He's a major weeb and he's an RGB fanatic. He's also a full-time student and gardener from California that took 2 years to build this setup for schoolwork and gaming. To start off, he made himself a nice wooden desk with built-in drawers and shelves. It's refreshing to see something other than an IKEA desk sometimes. He's using a single 25-inch, 240Hz Alienware display that is sitting on a custom-made matching monitor riser, and even though the stand is protruding out a little bit, he did mention that he velcroed the monitor to the riser and it hasn't moved or fallen over. Looks like he's rocking an ROG Falchion keyboard with a Corsair Scimitar mouse and what appears to be an interesting mouse pad. You definitely have a pretty comfortable wrist support there. Moving on to audio, the setup uses a soundbar for a primary source, but for gaming, he puts on the Corsair Voids. I do love the commitment of covering the entire wall with 3D art panels, and he also spiced it up a bit with some additional shelves and posters. By the way, for anyone wondering, you can't attach the shelves directly on the panels because it's not an even surface. You have to cut into them using a box cutter or a pair of scissors, and for the most part, he made some really clean cuts around the shelves and the posters. Also, really good work keeping everything nicely centered and symmetrical, even with the RGB strip. Very nice. Finishing up with the custom PC, we have a budget build inside the NZXT H510 Elite case. It's packing a Ryzen 5 3600X and an RTX 2060 KO. It's a nice build, but there are some questionable choices, like the fan configuration for one. You have the two fans for your AIO set as exhaust instead of intake, so when you get the chance, make sure to flip them around. The second one isn't really a mistake, but if you want better cable routing for the PCI cables, make sure to route them directly underneath the GPU and into one of the cutouts on the power supply shroud. Also, I'm not exactly sure why you bought a 240Hz monitor if your PC is rocking an RTX 2060. You're just not able to push 240 FPS on most of the games you're playing with those specs. But on the other hand, I guess it's nice to future-proof your setup when the time comes to upgrade your GPU. Nonetheless, a very nice custom setup to start off the show. Thank you, Adrian, for coming on the show. This next setup is freaking impressive. It belongs to Brad, aka 68 Bravo, who's a retired Navy senior chief from Wisconsin, and the purpose of this setup is for gaming, Twitch streaming, and creating YouTube content. Everything is basically custom built, from the desk to the headboard. We got triple 32-inch Quad HD monitors hooked up to the headboard, along with his PC mount. You know, I've seen people use all kinds of methods to mount their PC against the wall, from using TV mounts to wall shelves, but never have I seen someone use rustic pipes to support the PC. This is quite genius, actually. Not only can he remove the side panel with ease, giving access to the components inside, but if he ever has to take down the whole PC, he can just slide over the entire case. It's a beast of a system as well. We got a Ryzen 9 5900X paired with a Gigabyte RTX 4080 in here. Moving on to peripherals, it looks like Brad did choose the wireless route with a Black Widow V3 Mini and a Logitech G903 mouse, and also a PowerPlay mousepad to keep the G903 juiced up at all times. In addition to that, he's got a few other devices nearby for easy access during streams, like his Go XLR Mini, Elgato Stream Deck, and his Shure M7 microphone. So this is the Elgato low-profile mic arm, by the way, and it's the perfect solution for these types of setups where you want the mic to come out from underneath the monitors. The setup doesn't have any speakers, but he does have a pair of SteelSeries Arctis Novas that he keeps underneath the desk, And while we're down here, let's admire the cable management for a little bit. We got several racks in the back doing most of the work, with some cable raceways and a pencil drawer in the center to help keep the surface area clean. But he also added a shelf in the corner that's used to hold up his NAS and PS4 Pro. He certainly has the courage to serve this country, judging by the amount of medals he's earned from the Navy. I commend you for serving this country, and thank you for sharing this awesome setup with us. Up next, we have a very clean and minimalistic ultra-wide setup by Andrei. He's a ventilation engineer from London who took 2 months to build the setup for strictly gaming. He does everything on the 34-inch Alienware, which he mounted against the wall, and below that we got some Razer gear. A Tartarus Pro keyboard, Huntsman Mini, and a Viper Ultimate with clean cable routing through the desk and towards the corner where there is a grommet that leads up into his PC. This thing is a piece of art. It's a fairly high-end system with a Ryzen 7 5800X and an RX 6800 XT. This case is called the X Proto L, and it's a minimalistic open-air frame that supports ATX power supplies and a 240mm AIO. It's actually reminiscent of the Motive Monument in a lot of ways, especially in its overall footprint. Moving on to sound, it looks like Andrei has a few cans that he switches between constantly. We got the AKGs for gaming and the Hi-Fi Mans for music, but he does also have a pair of Creative Pebble V3s as well. Not much else to really talk about here. It's extremely clean and well kept. It's got all the essentials for a fully functioning setup with a little bit of decor on the side. Thank you, Andrei, for sharing this with us. On the opposite side of the spectrum is Jason's insane command center. He's into the mobile and tech retail field from Queensland, Australia, and this is the setup he built for gaming. Out of all the awesome gear that Jason has in this setup, believe it or not, the first thing that caught my eyes was the mouse pad. I had to actually zoom in to take another look, but I've confirmed that he does in fact have a mouse pad rotated sideways. But what's even more interesting is that it wraps around the edge of the desk and continues to go underneath. I'm not hating at all, by the way. It's just the first time I've seen this in 7 years of hosting setup wars. I guess it kind of makes sense in a way. I mean, you're adding extra padding on the edge of the desk in case you accidentally bump into it. But other than that, I just don't really see another point in this. I do have some concerns with the mouse space, however. Since the setup is used for gaming, I thought he would have preferred to have more mouse space. But if it doesn't bother him, then it's all good. I just spent the last minute talking about Jason's mouse pad. Let's get back on track. So he's rocking triple monitors for gaming. We got a 34-inch ultra-wide that's sandwiched by two 27-inch Odyssey G5 displays. I love the fact that he's stuck with all Samsung monitors for that perfect seamless infinity look from edge to edge. Unfortunately, the PC is being blocked off by the right monitor, which is a bit of a shame considering it's a really nice looking build too, with very clean cable work. The only thing I would have done differently was used neutral color cables instead of the black and red ones, since you're going with an RGB puke color scheme. You always want to go with neutral in the event you want to change up your color scheme, but I don't think it even matters here since the PC is blocked off anyways. Another thing I would have done differently was to place the soundbar on the bottom monitor riser instead of the top shelf. I really think you would get the best sound experience this way, but other than that, I do love the way you decorated the setup with those nanoleaf panels and the LIFX beams up top. It's truly mesmerizing when you combine it with the video wallpaper. But if I'm being honest, your entertainment setup on the other side is what really got me moist. That red sofa you got there is an absolute vibe. I can already picture myself kicking back on that thing, inviting over a few friends to watch movies or game on that massive 85-inch QLED TV. Maybe even bring over a date for a little bit of Disney Plus and thrust. I mean, we got options here. Extra points on the awesome display shelf you got over there in the corner, by the way. Jason, if you're watching this video, please reach out to me and let me know where you got this from because I might pick one up for myself. Awesome gaming room. Thank you for sharing this with us. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Yudho and his fourth iteration of the Cyberjunk project, aka CJP04. I'm sure at this point we are all familiar with his masterpieces. It all started back in episode 152 4 years ago, and he since then has given his setup a drastic makeover every single time he has come back on the show, and this time is no exception. Since Yudho had to move into a new home, he took the opportunity to redo his entire setup again. But in order to spend as less as possible, he had to use cheap materials just like his previous setups. So he stuck to mostly cardboard, aluminum foil, styrofoam, and other materials. In fact, the entire structure of the setup is made out of these materials, except the desk, which are from IKEA. I love the way he modded the desk with RGB lighting. He attached 2 frosted acrylic pieces on both sides and 1 more longer piece on the edge of the desk. And since frosted acrylic helps eliminate hotspots, he's able to get perfectly diffused lighting. It took him 6 months to put all of this together for mostly work and gaming on his spare time. On the desk, he's got a Logitech keyboard with a G900 Chaos Spectrum mouse, and for audio, he's got both desktop speakers and a gaming headset, although the headset has no business being that close to his peripherals. My guess is that he put it there to keep the rest of the desk clean, but it just looks out of place. Moving on up to the monitors, he's rocking triple displays, 2 of which are 24-inch curved monitors from Samsung, and the third one is actually from his laptop screen that's hooked up to a monitor arm. That's how this entire setup is powered, by the way, a single laptop just like his previous setups. Since the desk is custom made, he was able to make a dedicated rack underneath where he stores everything. And the cool part about this is that he can easily open and close it to gain easy access to everything. Now here is where things get interesting. The setup has a dynamic feature, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen on Setup Wars. Do you guys see the giant light boxes on the wall? Well, they are not just for decor, but they serve a purpose in transforming the theme of the setup. So he cut out a bunch of patterns and shapes from cardboard, and he uses that to create art, essentially. The lighting inside the panels create a silhouette from the cardboard and completely transform the look of the setup. This way he's able to have a different setup every single time. All he has to do is just create new patterns and shapes with the cardboard. But the point of this feature is that it's a literal canvas that he can use to create any theme he wants, and that is what's so damn impressive. It's an ever-evolving setup. He's also able to control the lighting of each panel individually using the RGB hub that he created. But there are so many other cool features about this setup that I want to go over real quick. Like this setup graphic he created, which is basically a tribute to his past setups. If you look closely, you can see the previous setup designs leading up to his current one. Even the lighting follows the correct path from 1 to 4, which is freaking awesome. On the opposite side of the wall, there's a section where I guess he keeps emergency food on hand in case he gets hungry. It's definitely a bit overkill, but I like the idea. It's fun. But if I'm being honest, I actually like the idea of the window magnet communication the best. This is basically what Yudho uses to communicate with his wife on the other side of the room if he needs something. It could be food, coffee, tea, or noodles. Why text your wife in the same house when you can use magnets for communication? Again, I don't really see it being that practical when you could just text, but it's still a really fun feature that also ties in with the setup's theme. You have to really dissect each picture to appreciate all the attention to detail that Yudho has put into this setup. There isn't a single area left untouched. He's the type of person that puts his heart and soul into his setup projects, and it definitely shows. I'm honestly still completely blown away by your creativity and imagination. To think you're able to achieve something this incredible while staying under a tight budget is an achievement by itself, and you should be really proud of yourself. This isn't a skill that a lot of people possess in the world, and I honestly think you can make a career out of designing setups. Hell, I might even work with you on a few setup projects in the future. Check your DMs, we'll talk later. But more importantly, I do want to award this setup the 54th seal of approval, just so I can add it to my collection of seal of approval setups. There won't be any plaques this time since you already own 2 of them, which you are beautifully displaying on your setup, by the way. But I think I speak for everyone when I say that we can't wait for your 5th iteration of CJP should you choose to redo your setup. Yudo, it's always a pleasure to see you on the show. Thank you for coming back on. As always, let me know in the comment section which of these setups blew your eyeballs out of your sockets. If you guys are enjoying Setup Wars, as always, make sure to toss a like before you head out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.